Alas, I am returned, to be granted audience once more upon my name as Godfrey, the first Elden Lord. The Age of the Erdtree. Godfrey is regarded as the first Elden Lord of the Golden Order, and the former consort of Queen Marika the Eternal. Godfrey was once a ferocious warrior, but when he vowed to become a lord, he took upon his back the lion Sorosh, the lord of beasts, to suppress his ceaseless lust of battle. Sorosh was once hailed as the lord of beasts. When Godfrey, a ferocious warrior, vowed to become a lord, he took Sorosh upon his back to suppress his ceaseless lust for battle. Sorosh took on the role of regent for Godfrey, as well as being a counselor for his offspring, the Golden Lineage. On Marika's orders, Godfrey led the war against the giants. The war against the giants was fought at the birth of the Erdtree, which was led by Godfrey. They marched through the western mountain tops, carving winding paths to the summit. Upon arriving on the mountain tops, Queen Marika issued a proclamation to Godfrey and his warriors, commanding them to put the giants to the sword and confine their flames so that the age of the Erdtree could begin. This war marked the birth of the Erdtree, an epoch which would be ruled over by Queen Marika and her Elden Lord. Godfrey and his offspring with Queen Marika became the first demigods. The first demigods were Godfrey, first Elden Lord, and his descendants known as the Golden Lineage. The confirmed members of the Golden Lineage. The first demigods were Godfrey, the first Elden Lord, and his descendants known as the Golden Lineage. The confirmed members of the Golden Lineage are Morgoth the Omen King, his twin Mohg Lord of Blood, Godric the Grafted, Godfrey the Grafted and the Grafted Scions, and Godwyn the Golden's name, title, and the pattern of his clothing suggest his descendancy from the Golden Lineage. Godric the Grafted was the only distant relation, his divine blood linking him to Marika sorely diluted, indicating unseen generations of Golden Lineage demigods. Godric is the last of the Golden Lineage, but the Grafted Scions are also suggested to be the dregs of the Golden Lineage themselves. Going back to Godfrey, Sorosh's image became an emblem of the Golden Lineage, acting as a counselor and guide for them, as previously noted. Notable members of the Golden Lineage did include Godwyn the Golden, as spoken before, the Omen twins Morgoth and Mohg, and the feeble Godric, the last of the Golden Lineage and a distant descendant of Godfrey and Marika. Before it became to be an embodiment of order, everything was in opposition to the Erdtree. This age began amidst conflict, and Godfrey was regarded as the lord of the battlefield. He wielded a great double-headed axe in battle, a weapon which symbolized the warrior's vow to conduct himself as a lord, which would later become a symbol of the Golden Lineage. Axe ornamentation would also become symbolic of the knight Ordovis, who commanded the Crucible Knights under Godfrey's command. The Crucible Knights served Godfrey, the first Elden Lord. They were led by the Crucible Knight Ordovis and Crucible Knight Celeria, two honored as the foremost amongst the Crucible Knights. The Crucible Knights were instrumental in the rise of the Erdtree, and fought for Godfrey. When he was Elden Lord, despite their acolytes, they too fell from grace. As the Erdtree flourished and its origin became a distant memory, the knights came to be treated with scorn for their chaotic strength and appearance. The Crucible Knights were an ancient order of warriors, devoted to the primordial crucible of life, prior to the form of the Erdtree. They are characterized by the torrent of life, designed emblazoned on their reddish armor, much like the crucible they venerate, the the Crucible Knights possess the ability to manifest the forms of various beasts. It is said the vitalic power they draw from inhabitants, their very armor. The Long March. As the Lord of the battlefield, Godfrey fought in many battles. During the siege of Castle Morn, Godfrey bested a lone hero who fought for vengeance. On top of leading the war against the giants, he faced the Stormlord alone. However, when his last enemy fell, it is said that the golden hue of Godfrey's eyes faded. At the end of his campaign, although his golden armies were unvanquished and unbowed, he found his grace lost, tattered and faded. This tiny golden aura is the grace of the Erdtree, the rays of grace that guide you through your burden. Grace, also referred to as the grace of gold, is a blessing given to people throughout the lands between by the Elden Ring and the Erdtree that symbolizes its presence. This blessing is represented by a golden light in the eyes of the inhabitants of the lands between. Those who had grace bestowed on them but later lost it are known as the Tarnished. Sometimes the Tarnished can see golden rays of grace that point in a particular direction, called the guidance of grace. It exists to guide the Tarnished and lead them along the proper path. It is also said that the guidance of grace would ensure that a finger maiden be brought to her chosen Tarnished, or at least such was the promise long ago. Even now, some sites of grace retain that power, and their golden rays can guide the Tarnished along the way. It is said that the true guidance awaits those with iron wills and unwavering faith, although it can be lost. In fact, most Tarnished don't even see it nowadays. Those in distant lands who saw the guidance of grace were usually seen as undesirables and were usually impatriated, after which they set to journey to the lands between, similar to the churches outside the lands between, dedicated to the teachings of the Two Fingers, sent confessors out to follow the guidance of grace. Now that we have an understanding of what grace is, we can continue on with the Godfrey and the Long March. He and his warriors were addressed by Queen Marika, who informed them that she had divested them of their grace. She commanded them to leave the lands between, to wage war in a land afar, where they would live and die. Thus, Godfrey and his kinfolk became the first Tarnished, and left the lands between together on a pilgrimage known as the Long March, at the end of which Godfrey divested himself of kingship and became a simple warrior once more. Godfrey became the chieftain of the Badlands, under the name of Hoarah. Although the head of his axe had been broken in battle fought during the Long March, his loyal warriors honored him by wielding axes of their own, and they became the weapons of choice for the Badlands chieftains. The return to the lands between. At some point, Hoarah died. However, when the Elden Ring was shattered following the death of his son Godwyn the Golden, the Tarnished who had died outside the lands between were returned to life by the call of their long-lost grace. This fulfilled a promise Marika had made before Godfrey and his men had departed the lands between, that after their deaths they would regain what she had claimed from them. Before returning to the lands between to wage war and brandish the Elden Ring, the Tarnished who had grown strong in the face of death crossed the fog and returned to the lands between, to stand before the Elden Ring and become the Elden Lord. Godfrey was among those who had made their way back to the lands between. After a Tarnished champion has claimed the great runes, burned the Erdtree and unbound the rune of death, they returned to the city of Lindell and approached the Erdtree. At the Elden Throne, you can find Godfrey, Sirosh on his back, mourning the death of Morgott, whom the Tarnished had previously slain. When Godfrey rises to his feet and addresses the Tarnished, he acknowledges their effort. However, he declares his intention to once again be granted audience. The two Tarnished do battle, and Godfrey finds himself overpowered. The former Elden Lord grabs the head of Sarosh, thanks him for his service, and then tears him from his back. Drenched in the blood of his loyal regent, Godfrey resumes his fight, now as Hora Lu. Nevertheless, the Tarnished defeats Godfrey, who declares that their strength befits a crown. With Godfrey dead, the Tarnished finally gains entry to the Erdtree to seek audience with Queen Marika herself. The story of Elden Ring has captivated many people throughout the world. You can gather hidden psychological as well as different meanings throughout the Elden Ring world. And if you look deep enough, you can find something yourself, as I'm sure you have already. I myself have explored this world to the point where I have discovered many things. I've enjoyed it so much that I've begun delving deeper into researching the stories and reading and talking to people throughout the world about Elden Ring. So if this has helped out in any way, or if you enjoyed it, please drop a like and subscribe to my channel. And I shall see you all in the next one. Bye for now.